Hello and welcome to the Whoniverse. Now in this video I thought it would be a good idea to take an in-depth look at the character known as the First Doctor. This video will feature a look at the character's identity and personality, as well as a brief history or timeline of events, and a look at the friends and foes he's encountered, all to answer the question on many people's minds: who is the First Doctor? Now, the First Doctor was, as he says, the original, being the first incarnation of the Doctor, first seen in the very first episode of Doctor Who on the 23rd of November in 1963. The episode was called An Unearthly Child. He was originally portrayed by the actor William Hartnell from 1963 to 1966. However, the character has reappeared on notable occasions, such as in 1973 in a Three Doctor special, with the First Doctor played by William Hartnell. Then, the character reappeared in 1983, but played by Richard Hurndall in The Five Doctors. And then we have his most recent appearance in the Christmas special in 2017, Twice Upon a Time, with the First Doctor portrayed by David Bradley. So many actors have held the name, but what was this incarnation of the Doctor like? Well, this incarnation of the Doctor held himself in high regard. He was prone to criticising those whom he felt was naive or primitive compared to his intellect. However, after he began taking on companions, he developed a compassion, warmth and wit that made up for his egocentric nature, serving to act as a mentor and guardian figure in his final years. Originally a very difficult and grumpy person, the First Doctor matured from an apparent selfishness and became more inviting. His happier, kinder characteristics were fostered when he began to acquire an entourage of companions to accompany him throughout the wonders of the fourth dimension, and learned to be a caregiver with a sense of justice in a universe afflicted by evils. The First Doctor wore clothing that had an overall look of a late Victorian or Edwardian outfit, as he wore a black frock coat and a fawn waistcoat over a wing-collared shirt, usually a dark blue necktie, occasionally light checked, and creased check trousers. This incarnation of the Doctor also wore a ring with a large blue stone, and additional accessories seen from time to time are a monocle, a carved wooden cane, an opera cape and a scarf, and sometimes a hat of astrakhan fur. The First Doctor made his way through time and space in the same TARDIS that his future selves will use. The exterior and interior have changed over time, much like the character. The TARDIS shown in the 2017 Christmas special isn't entirely accurate, as we can see the roundels on the walls are from the curator's museum scene in Day of the Doctor, and other notes including the addition of an extra brass pillar and numerous other small cosmetic changes are different to the original TARDIS set. The First Doctor's TARDIS actually looked like this in the 1960s. It was clean, organised, scientific, and featured an almost factory fresh look, with everything plain and simple. The First Doctor lacked the skill and practice in his time to pilot the TARDIS perfectly, having only just acquired the space and time travelling machine. This lack of control added a sense of adventure to every story, as no one knew where the TARDIS was going to take them next. Now, the First Doctor met many faces and had many great adventures, so here is a brief timeline of the First Doctor's adventures. This timeline is just a quick overview of the First Doctor's era, so not all of his travels will be featured to avoid spoiling them for anyone who wants to watch them. However, this timeline does feature the companions' exits and circumstances of those exits. So, beginning after he fled his homeworld of Gallifrey, his travels through time and space were mostly random, owing to faulty components in his TARDIS. Initially, he travelled only with his granddaughter Susan Foreman. They settled for a time on Earth in 1963, where Susan was a student at Coal Hill School. He was forced to abruptly depart from Earth with Susan's teachers, Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright, kidnapping them from their own time after they went to investigate their unusual pupil. After much travel with Ian and Barbara, he bade Susan farewell to allow her to live a happier life with a man whom she'd fallen in love with. Following Susan's departure, the Doctor travelled for a short time with Ian and Barbara before happening upon a planet, where he invited a new travelling companion to join him, Vicky. She reminded him of Susan, and the Doctor saw her as a surrogate to fill her spot in his travels with Ian and Barbara. Later, during a confrontation with the Daleks, the Doctor used one of the time machines to return Ian and Barbara to their proper time, something he had been unable to manage with his TARDIS. Soon after the departure of Ian and Barbara, the Doctor and Vicky had gained a new companion in Stephen Taylor, with whom the Doctor had a relatively uneasy relationship. Vicky eventually left the Doctor's company as well, after falling in love with a man she met in ancient Troy. Then, after a lengthy fight with the Daleks, Stephen soon became bitter towards the Doctor, blaming him for the several deaths of their travelling companions, Katerina and Sarah, but eventually forgave him. They were then joined by Dodo Chaplet. Ultimately, though, Stephen decided to stay to help a civilization they had encountered, while Dodo was later injured in an adventure and decided to remain home in their own time. The Doctor was taken by a time scoop to the Death Zone, where he was briefly reunited with Susan. While there, he defeated a Dalek by trapping it in a narrow corridor, where its own weapons fire ricocheted back at itself, destroying it. He was reunited with his second and third incarnations and met his fifth incarnation. He also briefly met a future incarnation of the Master, though didn't recognise him. After these events, the Doctor found himself joined by Ben Jackson and Polly, to whom he was much more kind. He hoped to prevent them from leaving as Stephen had. Then, at some point during all these adventures, the First Doctor teamed up with his 12 successors to save Gallifrey from destruction at the end of the last Great Time War, but lost all memory of the event due to the timelines not being synchronised. Also, some point prior to his regeneration, the First Doctor helped two of its successors in defeating Omega. The First Doctor met his end after battling the Cybermen of Mondas in Antarctica in December 1986. He was forced to regenerate into his second body from exhaustion and a loss of strength to maintain his ancient body after Mondas drained a large portion of his life force. The story that features the regeneration of the First Doctor is called the Tonk Planet, and it is the story that Twice Upon a Time links in with, as we see the First Doctor at the end of his time ready to regenerate into his second body. Before the First Doctor regenerates, though, he teams up with his future self in the form of the 12th Doctor. Both incarnations help one another by teaching the lessons of the past to the 12th Doctor, and showing the First Doctor that the future matters, and so does he. The two Doctors go their separate ways, and the First Doctor falls to the ground of his TARDIS, after successfully piloting it back to the South Pole in 1986. His companions Ben and Polly join him and witness the Doctor regenerate, or as it was known back then, he renewed himself for the first time. So, that was a brief history of the First Doctor. Now you may be wondering what aliens he met and foes he went up against. Well, the First Doctor met a range of aliens from all parts of space and time, with some of the most notable and memorable being the following: the Daleks, the Fowls, the Vord, the Sensorites, the Menoptera, the Zarbi, the Morocks, the Iridians, the Mechanoids, the Meddling Monk, the Dravins, the Trumblies, the Monoids, the Celestial Toymaker, the War Machines, and the Cybermen. The First Doctor also encountered many figures and groups from history, such as Marco Polo, the Aztecs, the French Revolutionaries, the Romans, King Richard the Lionheart and the Crusaders, the Archean Greeks, the French of the Massacre, the Gunslingers of the Wild West, the smugglers of the 17th century. So as you can see, the First Doctor fought many foes, made many allies, and had many adventures. The First Doctor changed as time went on, becoming a happier, kinder, and overall a better person. The First Doctor is where the story started, and as he once said, it's far from being all over, as with Doctor Who, the story has just begun. Thanks for watching this video, and welcome to what is a new look end card, with a moving time vortex and theme. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to click the like button and comment below with what your favourite First Doctor moment, story or alien is. And if you want to see more videos made by myself, check out the links on the left, and click the subscribe button. Thanks again, and a special thank you to everyone who helped with the colorization of the images used in this video. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.